This one's going to be positive. I'm sure of it. I think we need a wee bit of positivity before we go in to this game. We can do it. Welcome to Deal with the Devil, a Man United talk show of sorts. Who knows? I thought today, we're playing this game. There's so much negativity around us at the minute. Let's think of 5 positive things about United. Let's think of 5 things going on that we can work with, that we can, say, okay, things are not looking awesome at the minute, but there are things taking place. What are those things? So, 5 things. Turns out I couldn't do it. Turns out I could only think of 4. And I think in some respects that actually says how negative things are at United. However, it's where we're at. So let's kick it off. It's going to be a quick one. Let's kick it off with the first thing I think we should remember and be positive about at United. And the first one is, these players are better than the league table shows. These players are much better than the league table shows. We're not getting relegated with this bunch. There are so many people chatting about that at the minute, saying it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're not getting relegated. These players are so much better, and they're just not playing it at this moment in time. If anything, in that last match against Newcastle United, when we were overrunning midfield, Amram now knows more than he knows before. He now knows there's absolutely no chance he can put Casemiro beside Eriksen in the centre of midfield. He knows now, not happening, not going to do it again. And that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I'll be totally honest with you. I'm over it now. We lost that game. We lost it horribly. But I'm over it now. We have to look forward. We have to look to the future. And this team is much better than we give it credit for. There are seasoned internationals throughout this squad. They're simply bedding into a brand new system. And the fact of the matter is, some will need to go, but many will stay due to the nature of financial fair play and the profit and sustainability regulations. So we are hamstrung in many respects, but we're bound to be able to do something. We're bound to be able to do something and get at least... I'm hopeful of getting 1 or 2 in this January. I really am. I'm going to do a video on that, or have a chat about that at some stage in the future. But this is not the final iteration of Man United. This is not the Man United team that will bring us success. So let's not be too pessimistic. Let's not be too pessimistic at the minute with this team. There's a much better team at Manchester United than there is at Nottingham Forest, for example. And they're doing fantastic, but they're players who have been... they had a pre-season for a start in a system that Espirito Santo wants to play. They're a team who have played together... they're a team that's played together longer in a system that works for them. So they know what they're doing. They sit back. Do we want to be playing that anymore? No. Amram wants to dominate matches. He wants to have the ball. He wants to have control of the match. We don't have players who can do that right now. Simple as that. But we will improve, and there are players there that we will build this team around, like Kobe. It'll happen. I don't want to name too many other players because I want to talk about them next, but we have some great players. Certainly. Do you know what? One player I want to mention is Bruno Fernandes. 4 goals, 5 assists in 18 games. He would have played more games, except he's kept on getting red cards. He gives everything for this team. He gets so much criticism as our captain, but he would give everything for this team. He plays all the time when he's available, and he would die for us if it meant we win. He is a proper win at all costs footballer. We should be so grateful we have him at the club. People criticise him and they need to check themselves, because where would we be without him? Look at that Newcastle game. We had no creativity whatsoever. You can talk about the idea of we had maybe no steel or no legs in the centre of midfield. Newcastle knew we would not create anything either. They had no fear. They were able to bomb forward at will. Bruno Fernandes, very important player. This team, much better than what we give it credit for. The next thing that I would say to be positive about is Lenny Yoro. Right now, Lenny Yoro is protected, as he is young, he's not long after an injury, so he's not playing maybe as much as people would like him to, but we know he's really highly thought of at Old Trafford. He's got pace, he can play the ball, he's got great recovery whenever the ball goes in behind. Something not a lot of our defenders have right now. It's a tricky one in terms of where he can play because Mazraoui's not playing really that well at all at right wing back. So it's likely he's probably going to come into the right centre at times this season. I don't think that's going to happen at Liverpool. I think we're going to just do a flat back five, in fact. But Lenny Yoro is someone for the future. We know how much he was in demand in the summer. Real Madrid after him. We probably said to him, we'll pay you more and we'll play you more. We're not giving him full games right now. But that's okay. This is all about him learning. This is not the season of Lenny Yoro, not by a stretch. This is all about him going through this pain of results now. And it is. We're going through massive pain of results right now for every player. But as he's so young, he's only going to learn from this. He's only going to learn from the mistakes of the team. For any mistakes he makes, he'll be a much better player for it. I think we have to be really optimistic about Lenny. We have to get behind him completely. He's learning from experienced internationals in De Ligt, in Mazraoui, in Maguire. Whenever Luke Shaw is available and training, he's also going to be a great defender for him to learn from. There's so much positivity around Lenny. He should be, unless we make an absolute disaster of things, he should be our main central defender for the next 10 years. Easily. Absolutely easily. Whether we're capable of making that happen, that might be another thing. The next thing I'm really, really positive about is the new manager. Amorim is a great reason to be excited. We have a brand new system, something we are not used to at all at Old Trafford. But something that we can work with, certainly in the future, once he has transfer windows. This January is probably not the transfer window that we need to speak about. It'll be the summer. It may even be next summer due to our financial situation. But there will be new players in this system that work for this system. I'm really hopeful we do not go down the Ten Hag line where he just takes in players that he knows, or we just buy a lot of random Portuguese players. I don't think that's going to happen. I really, really don't. I think we've learned the lessons of the past. His record in Portugal was so impressive. So impressive, in fact, that we know Man City took Hugo Viana as their new sporting director, with Pep Guardiola likely going to be leaving in the future, even though he signed the new contract. Who knows what's going to happen with City if they keep on losing. He may decide to walk at the end of this season. 100% they were taking in Amorim to be the replacement. There is no question about that. Liverpool looked at him last season in terms of replacing Jurgen Klopp. They decided against him. The reason they decided against him was because they looked at it and said, we don't have the players that's going to fit into a system that works for Amorim. We decided to take him mid-season, which probably wasn't wise. Whenever Amorim said, I'll come at the end of the season, and they said, no, it's now or never, that probably wasn't wise. It was probably wiser to say, okay, we'll have you in summer. You can embed your system over summer. You can get the players you want over summer. You can talk to us before summer takes place so we know what your targets are and we can act on them ASAP. We can know what players to get rid of. Instead, we said, no, come on in now. Have start around the busiest time of the season, so you have no training time with any of the players. It doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of things don't make a lot of sense at United right now, but that didn't make sense when we decided to take Amorim in. But there is plenty of reason to be positive about him. Think of his honesty as well, in comparison to Ten Hag, where Ten Hag, probably in self-defense mode, spoke to the media with a lot of falsehoods, let's be honest. A lot of times where he said things where it didn't pass the eye test. Where we as an audience, as fans, as people looking from the outside in, were able to say that's just not true. That's just not the case. Amram, on the other hand, he's a bit of a media darling at the minute. He's loved by the reporters because he's being truthful. For them and for us, that's quite refreshing. There's a no-nonsense take. He is being open and honest. He's saying the stuff about relegation right now, and the feeling behind that is he's saying to these players, you know what, this is possible if you don't buck up your ideas. If this had have been Ten Hag, he would have just said, no, we're not getting relegated. We are the best team in the country. We are the best transition team in the country. Just look at our numbers. We should be higher, blah, blah, blah. Amram said, no, this will happen if nothing changes. So they need to buck up their ideas. How awesome is that? Think of what he said about Rashford. That Rashford has to perform better. And it's not just in training, it's attitude. It's how he carries himself. We've known this for a long time about Rashford. We've known about the trips to Northern Ireland, to Belfast. We've known about him, going to America when he should have been in the country. Where he's had nights out. Calling in sick because he wanted nights out. Give him his credit. He's not the first footballer to have ever done that. However, this is a day and age where you cannot do that. There's different things that me and you cannot do in our jobs nowadays that, you know what, you could have got away with 20 years ago. You could have got away with it, but not now. And that's how things still are in football. You cannot get away with things, but there are still footballers who try and push the limit a wee bit, who maybe think, I've got an ego, so I can get away with it because of who I am. No, sorry, mate, not getting away with it, not under this manager. He also said we've no leaders. He was speaking about Harry Maguire, and he said, you need to work on your leadership. You need to work on your performance on the pitch. That's fantastic. He's not just blowing smoke up his arse. He's saying, no, you've not been good enough. We'll renew your contract. And I think it's a smart move, actually, to trigger the 1-year extension. It's a smart move. It gives us a wee bit of time. It means that maybe central defence is not something that is an absolute priority for numbers in the future, because we know Victor Lindelof's going to leave. I think it's a smart move. But saying that leadership, he's saying you need to stand up, take some accountability. You may not be wearing the armband, but you take accountability and you drag these players. These players all need to drag one another and stand up and sort of say, no, this is not good enough. We are not playing well enough here. Let's get angry. Let's get stuck in. Let's actually do something about this. I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant. The final thing I'm really positive about is Amad Diallo. Everything should be against him. Previously, he couldn't get a kick of the ball. Ten Hag just wouldn't play him. The fans wanted to see him more, especially after that Liverpool goal. The fans wanted to see him more. They wanted to give him that opportunity on the big stage. And when he did get the opportunity, he took it against Liverpool, but then he was shunted out again. Weren't really interested. Ten Hag was determined to get Rashford scoring goals when it just wasn't happening. He's also small in frame and weight for the league. Again, another thing against him. But he doesn't let that stop him. If anything, I think it's an interesting facet of his attributes, because whenever he does get forward and he's in the box, it wouldn't take much to trip him over. It wouldn't take much for a defender just to nick him. Because of how fast he is, how slight he is, I don't think that's a bad quality. Not at all. He also plays in a position where we were well stocked from Ten Hag's point of view anyway. We had Anthony, we had Rashford played on the right, we had Garnacho playing on the right at times, so he just couldn't get a look in. Another thing that was against him. He also had a terrible time at Rangers in Scotland. He was atrocious. I watched him a couple of times, and I was sad that he went to Rangers, but he was so poor. He had a much better time at Sunderland, to give him his credit. So everything was against him. Then all of a sudden, he has 5 goals and 7 assists in 26 games. I think he should have more, and I think he should probably be playing at right wing back, because he is a workhorse. We know he'll get forward, and I think it's a perfect position for him under this system, rather than being in attacking midfield, because that hasn't really worked. Apart from that Man City game, it hasn't really worked. I think right wing back, that he can just pop up out of nowhere, I think that's fantastic. He's played in multiple positions for us already this season. He's played in 4 positions: right wing back, attacking on the wing. He's played attacking midfielder in the centre. He's played on the left wing. He gives us so much. He gives us so much. He adds a pressing enthusiasm that just transfers to other players. Other players want to be involved. Other players want to engage the opposition. I think that's brilliant. Ahmad has that enthusiasm without the ego. If there was ever something we needed in this group of players, it's those qualities. So there's 4 things I'm positive about before this Liverpool match takes place. If you haven't already listened to it, my preview of the game is up, and it's not a positive one. It's not a positive one at all. Anyway, give me a like, subscribe, comment, leave any questions. I am going to do a video on this January and the transfer window, what we will do, what we can do, what's likely, what's maybe pie in the sky. Thanks for listening.